Scott just made the point.
Thomas Jefferson, you'll read to be a lot more secure, not just.
American Sniper kind of reminds me of the movie that's showing in the third act of Inglourious Bastards. So tweeted Seth Rogen. The movie that's showing in the third act of Inglourious Bastards is a Nazi propaganda film. Seth Rogen said he never compared American Sniper to a Nazi propaganda film, except that he did, just so we're clear. My uncle killed by sniper in WW2. We were taught snipers were cowards. We'll shoot you in the back. Snipers aren't heroes and invaders are worse, tweeted Michael Moore. But just so there's no confusion about how cowardly snipers are, Moore went on to tweet, but if you're on the roof of your home defending it from invaders who've come 7K miles, you're not a sniper, you are brave, you are a neighbor. So, ladies and gentlemen, in other words, snipers are cowards unless you're an Iraqi sniper, in which case you're a hero. American Sniper has the left in a frenzy, and here's why. It's one of the most adamantly pro-American films ever made. It's magnificently made. It's magnificently made by one of the top directors in the business, conservative Clint Eastwood, and it has had the largest January opening in history, and as we tape this episode, there's still a lot of January left to go. So, on this week's three-part trifecta, we're going to talk about the power of emotion, the power to sell a political message through emotion and story. The left is hysterical over American Sniper because they know full well the power of a well-told tale, and they also know how fast their power will dissolve if conservatives ever wake up to wield this sword that's been sleeping in our hands all this time. So in part one, we're going to talk about the power of movies and the influence on the pop culture. In part two, we'll take a look at the power of emotion, and in our members-only Part 3, we'll look at how we can use that power of both emotion and story to sell a political point for the good guys for a change. So let's bring in Steve Green and Scott Ott and get back to this tempest over American Sniper. Now, gentlemen, as I said, the left came to power in this country because they changed the national mythology before they changed the national politics. They never could have gotten away with what they've gotten away to if the mythology had not been laid, if the groundwork hadn't been laid. Now, Scotty, not too long ago, we talked about Fury, which was a movie about American tankers in World War II, but that was back during the Good War. Everybody knows America was good guys in World War II. Why is the left hysterical about a movie that makes us look like the good guys in a movie about the bad war? Or does that question just kind of answer itself?
Well, I think because the left understands something that we struggle to understand, which is the power of narrative, the power of story, the power of image. And I think they understand what Clint Eastwood did. I mean, Eastwood is brilliant. It has been throughout his career. While they were mocking him, the left, came down on him hard after the Republican convention when he got up on stage and began talking to a chair. The reason why the left came down on him so hard is because in a moment, Clint Eastwood created a compelling image of what President Obama was. And that was so powerful, and the left knew it. Here, they understand that the personal story of a man, who's just a man, he's not a god, he has his flaws, but a man put in an untenable situation with some incredible skills, does something that protects people's lives, and it redounds to the good of this great nation. You know, when this movie started running, little theaters across the country started calling up the distribution house and saying, you can't believe what's happening here. Out in the sticks, in places where people don't normally go to many movies, they were packing theater after theater after theater. They knew Friday night they had something they hadn't seen in years.
Yeah, a vision of America and their sons and husbands that wasn't evil. And if the individual soldier's not evil, then maybe the army's not evil. And if the army's not evil, then maybe the cause isn't evil. And if the cause isn't evil, maybe the country's not evil. And if the country's not evil, then the left is out of business. Steve, is there any question now which side these limousine liberals are on?
You know, this is the thing about American Sniper. This is the story, not the story of American heroism, which is wonderful, but the story of American evil, of these anti-American haters who are so incensed by this movie that they've dropped the mask, and they hardly ever do that. I mean, all I knew of Seth Rogen is, is a funny guy in some Judd Apatow movies. Now I know that he thinks Clint Eastwood is equivalent of a Nazi propaganda movie, and that tells me a story. But let me back this up and take a look at the broader picture for just a second. You're over the holidays. I actually took 2 weeks off. I hadn't done this in ages. Stayed at home. didn't read the news. I immersed myself in what I call comfort reading. I pulled out some favorite old books and read those instead of the news, instead of politics, any of that. And one of them was Robert Heinlein's Stranger in a Strange Land. And in that, Michael Valentine Smith, who'd been raised on Mars by Martians and had never seen a human being, is trying to learn once he comes back to Earth what it means to be human. And he finally has this revelation, and he realizes that man is the animal who laughs. And for this one time, I'm going to disagree with Heinlein. What I think I've learned from this story is that man is the animal that tells stories. We laugh at funny stories. We cry at sad stories. We tell stories to our kids at bedtime. This is what we do. And the more powerfully we do it, the more effective we are. And that is what we've seen with American Sniper and Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, that's right, buddy. My friends, the left is losing their collective minds over this because the American people are seeing a different face of the war portrayed in films like Redacted and In the Valley of Elah and the dozens of other anti-Iraq war movies that failed. Those weren't propaganda movies. Those were deep insights. This is propaganda. Okay, got it. Now, the American people know what kind of soldiers we field, and seeing them on the screen reinforces their love for their military and their country and their husbands and fathers. That's the power of emotion. And that's why the left, in the words of another movie about soldiers, cannot handle the truth. So join us for part 2, where we'll take a look at the power of emotion and why we don't want anything to do with it. For PJTV, I'm Bill Whittle.